Hey there Cosmic Warriors, and welcome back to another video. Okay, so in today's video we are going to be taking a look at your Libra house within your natal birth chart, followed by addressing your Venus sign slash house, and then lastly we're going to finish up by addressing your 7th house within your birth chart, also known as the descendant. And essentially by addressing these things, what we are doing is we are addressing the archetype of Libra overall. However, I do just want to start off by saying happy birthday to all of you solar Libras out there. It is your season, but still with that in mind, I also want to know if you're watching this, happen to have any planets within the sign of Libra within your birth chart. Do you not have any planets in there? What planets are even going on within your 7th house? What's your descendant sign? What's your Venus placement? All that good stuff. Let us know in the comment section down below. And before we do jump into today's video, I also want to mention that the Libra season book is now available for a digital download, so I'm going to put a link in the description box below. But still, let's give a big shout out here to Mathilde for this amazing, beautiful, spectacular front cover that she created for the Libra season book. Just to mention then, also the Libra season book has contained with it mythology, the symbolism, it has the Libra house, it has the 7th house, it has some practical tips and advice about Libra, it's got Venus retrograde, it's got Venus intercepted, 7th house intercepted, Libra intercepted. Yeah, there is a lot of information in this book, so down below you can get it, click the link. Okay, so with all of those introductions out of the way, let's do this. Now for more information all about archetypes, then please be sure to check out my introduction video. But by definition, an archetype is a primitive mental image derived from the collective unconscious. And when it comes to the archetype of Libra, what we notice is an image of a set of scales. And it's these weighing scales that represent both equality and balance. These scales can be associated with the scales of justice, and the scales of justice, of course, being used in many Western presentations of modern law. So, signifying the idea of the fair distribution of law with no influence of privilege, bias, or corruption. You might even often see a depiction of Lady Justice where she is blindfolded whilst holding a sword in her hand, but then also a set of scales in her other hand. And interestingly enough, when we look to the Justice card in the tarot, the character is also holding a set of scales and a sword. Then again, she is not blindfolded in the image. She has her sight. But according to Liz Green, blindness in Greek mythology represented inner sight. So could it be suggested that this blindfold is highly significant towards what the sign of Libra represents? Could it be that, well, Libra represents both the conscious and the unconscious, and the balancing of the two in association with what is true? For example, when placed with making a decision, what happens to our minds? Our minds start to really balance back and forth between should I do this, should I not do this? We begin then to weigh out all of our options and alternatives. But what options are coming from our conscious state of mind, and what options are coming from our unconscious? And when we go to act on these very decisions and choices, which ones are we aware of? And which ones are we completely oblivious of? Therefore, it's this archetype of Libra that can represent how we make decisions based upon the options and directions available to us at any given moment. And what's also highly significant about the symbol of Libra is how Libra marks the halfway point of the astrological year, showing us the transition from personal, so below the horizon, looking at those houses within the natal birth chart that are below. So that transition from below to above the horizon, so looking at those houses within your natal birth chart that are then above. Naturally, this also marks the autumn equinox throughout the calendar year, at least for those who, of course, are born within the northern hemisphere. And this I find to be quite interesting because, well, whilst autumn and winter, they signify winding down and resting energy, hence the hibernation after the gathering of the foods and harvest and so on. Well, it's the above the horizon houses within the birth chart that really signify the rising up and the coming together with other people outside of ourselves. Could it be that Libra represents the harmony found in both rising and descending at the same time? The harmony found in acting and resting at the same time, or at least the balancing and the harmonizing between the two. Ultimately, it is the sign of Libra that could be associated with weighing all sides of any situation where we remain impartial and objective towards life itself. Heck, even within our atmosphere or environment, there is a symbolic current between the northern and southern hemispheres, between the many different species that exist, and between the different elements and compounds that exist. Even take a look at how astrology is structured. There are 12 different signs comprised of 6 different axes, comprised of 4 different elements, and comprised of 3 different modalities. And of course, there are many relationships formed and balanced within this very structure. But before we do go any further into the archetype of Libra, let's actually take this a step back in order to really identify where we are coming from. So we are coming from Virgo season. And it's during Virgo season that we learn a great deal about our daily routine and how we can create an efficient system that works for us practically. We figure out what is good for us, what is beneficial to our overall health and well-being, but we also come to understand and figure out what is not working and what, quite frankly, needs to be cut off and left behind. It's during Virgo season, you see, that we really do come to terms with what serves us and what is simply keeping us back and possibly even making us sick. Meaning that it's during Virgo season that we use our analytical and discriminative skills to identify both healthy and unhealthy patterns that we have picked up and we have learned so far. And it's also a season where we learn about preparation and preparing the vessel for the rest of the astrological year. However, as we do then start to move our way towards Libra season, the dialogue changes. The dialogue changes quite a bit, because now what we focus our attention on is others. See, Libra is the first interpersonal sign within the cycle, meaning the involvement of others in correspondence with the self. And in this way, Libra encourages us to look at how we interact with and exchange ideas with other people. And by doing so, we are presented with another version of ourselves. But how so? Because we come to the realization that each individual has the potentiality to act or be a certain way based upon who they are around and what relationships they form. So for example, maybe you do not see yourself as an impatient person, but then you attract an impatient person into your life, then suddenly you're being impatient. Hence, you being greeted with another version of you. Therefore, it is during lovely Libra season that we start to relate with other people by getting other people to tell us about them. However, this process can also be rather tricky because during our quest to connect and relate with others, we can be presented with qualities and traits that we do not necessarily relate with or like. We can find certain people infuriating and annoying and frustrating to be around, but yet it's the archetype of Libra that represents the combining of two people, the unifying, the blending, the merging of two people. It's a sign of cooperation. It's a sign of coordination and compromise, meaning that it's Libra season that is a season of comparison between oneself and others, where we compare our interests and our own perspectives against another person's interests and perspectives. And by doing so, we either form a close union with another person, potentially leading to a friendship, a relationship, a partnership in some way, or where we form a distant opposition or a rivalry with another person, leading to a potential enemy. But it's this outcome that can really depend on so many factors, such as attraction, personality traits, communication, relatability. There's loads of things. So it is the sign of Libra that really does focus on our relationships, particularly our one-on-one relationships. But it also represents the relationship that we have with ourselves. So not only addressing the balancing act between two people, but the balancing act within an individual. For example, if you are a person who doesn't really like your shyness or your timidness, and what you do is you maybe refuse to accept these qualities about yourself, well, you just might find yourself being in opposition with others who are like this as well, because you don't accept it about yourself. So this is why it's really good for us to learn how to reflect on our own qualities and traits and accept them as part of who we are. And by us attaining this internal balance, well, we can also attain it externally with other people or with our partner as well. And by doing these things, we can come to a place of self-acceptance rather than trying to falsely please other people so that they will accept us. Now, Libra is also an air sign, meaning that it's a sign connected with intellect and relationships. And it's also a cardinal sign, meaning that Libra is an initiator, it's a go-getter, it's a doer, it sets things in motion. This cardinal air combination then makes for a sign that is concerned with initiating new ideas, using the mind to start new projects, developing new relationships, and being open to intellectual discussions, especially if these discussions result in harmony and peace. So with all that being said then, what I am going to do is I'm going to play some clips from media that I personally think can be associated with the archetype of Libra. Now, when it comes to your Libra house within your natal birth chart, it will show you then where you seek to create peace and harmony between yourself and others. It's an area of life where you learn how to cooperate with other people through the likes of teamwork. But it's also an area of life where you learn to really attain this within yourself as well. So expressing what you really think, even if your opinions are unpleasant, rather than leaving things unsaid, possibly resulting in suppression and major blow-ups. At the same time, it's this house or area of life where we can actually put our opinions to the side in order to receive something in return or for our own benefit as well. And what I mean by this is that, well, yeah, sure, above the surface, it might seem like we are appeasing others, but underneath the surface, there just might be some hidden or unconscious intentions and motivations at play. Suggesting that whilst we may have the tendency of not speaking up within our Libra house for the sake of keeping the peace, well, we also may do it because we consciously or unconsciously want to gain something from it for ourselves as well. Take someone with Libra ruling the 10th house, for example. They might keep the peace on their public platform as a way to keep themselves from public criticisms or disagreements. Or take someone with Libra ruling the 4th house within their chart, for example. They just might keep the peace amongst their family members so that mummy or daddy will buy them that new toy that they have been wanting for Christmas. Furthermore, it is the Libra house that can show you where you come from a place of being relatable and equally receptive, but it's also where you learn to fight for your own rights, even if legal action is required. Take someone here, for example, with Libra ruling the 8th house. Yes, they may seek to cooperate with their intimate sexual partner by exploring different sex positions together, but the moment they feel like the partner is not living up to their end of the bargain, then they just might turn into sex judges. Likewise, someone with Libra ruling the 2nd house. They might be cooperative with their money and their materials, but the moment that someone tries to slight them or take advantage, they just might file a complaint or alert the authorities. Oh yeah, do not be fooled by the power of balance within your Libra house, because the moment that things become unbalanced or unharmonious, or when harmony is disrupted, the opposing force of that imbalance just might kick your ass. Now, due to these reasons, your Libra house can also show you where you have the tendency of playing devil's advocate in order to determine the validity of something. And this can be used as a great tool to really help you weigh out your options and identify both the pros and the cons of any situation. For example, someone with Libra ruling the 9th house, they might play devil's advocate with the professors or lecturers at their university or college. Likewise, someone with Libra ruling the 3rd house, they might play devil's advocate with the teachers or their classmates at school. Ultimately, it is within your Libra house that you can really try to see all sides of an issue. Though, what does it mean when you have a planet within the sign of Libra? Now, of course, it does depend on the planet itself, but it's the energy of that planet being placed into this relationship-orientated sign, resulting in that planet being balanced, fair, and impartial in its manifestation. For example, if you have Mercury within Libra, well, this suggests that you will be balanced and fair in how you communicate with others or how you deliver information. You might possibly even avoid conflict with others, or you might try to really take your time to make decisions. Say, for example, you have Venus in Libra. Well, this can suggest that you will be balanced and fair in your love and relationships. You may just weigh out options that you have romantically, or weigh out qualities of another person that you really like before you then decide that you want to be in a mutually committed relationship with that person. Or maybe you have Jupiter in Libra. Well, this can suggest that you will be balanced and fair when it comes to the knowledge that you seek to share with others. For example, you just might weigh out the fortune that you can gain before making a decision in terms of higher education. Though, if you do happen to have a stellium within the sign of Libra, meaning 4 or more planets within Libra, well, this also does depend on the planets themselves, but this high altitude of planets being placed into this sign, that can result in a person who is highly diplomatic, well-rounded, fair, intellectual, relationship-orientated, and pretty pleasant. However, it can also result in a person who is highly agreeable to a fault, or someone who is quite vain, superficial, a bit indecisive, and it can also be suggested that you give the cold shoulder instead of addressing disputes or disagreements with others. When it does come to the ruling planet of Libra then, which is Venus, well, it's Venus that can show you how you attract people and objects to you based upon whichever sign Venus is in. Now, for more information all about Venus, then please be sure to watch the Taurus video. I'm going to put a little card somewhere so you can get more information on that. But the important thing to keep in mind when it comes to Venus is that there are two sides. So we have one side being the earth, physical and material side in association with Taurus, and it's really about stuff and objects. But then we have the other side being the air, intellectual and relationship side, being really concerned here, of course, with the more Libra qualities, which are more about partnership and union between people. It's essentially Venus that then unifies and synthesizes people, creations, materials, and so on, and it really helps an individual bestow harmony, beauty, and peace, showing you the power of attraction, affection, art, style, cooperation, negotiation, romance, and courtship. So whenever you are looking at your Venus sign and your house within your birth chart, it's really good to consider both sides of Venus. So how Venus is being expressed through both your attraction of materials and of your relationships, but also how Venus is being expressed through your own sense of self-worth and value as well. For example, someone with Venus in Gemini, they might be attracted to material items that really stimulate their mind, such as games and phones, devices, so electronics. So that's more of the earth side of Venus. But then they also might be attracted to people and relationships that stimulate their mind as well, such as intellectual, chatty types, and that would be the more air side of Venus. Likewise, someone with Venus in Aries, well, they might be attracted to material items that stimulate their energy levels, such as exercise machines or gym memberships. That's the earth side. But also they might be attracted to people and relationships that stimulate their energy levels as well, such as a highly sexually active person or a person who really challenges them, and that would be the air side. Naturally then, if we were to throw in the houses into the mix, well, the house is also going to add extra layers to how this Venus sign plays out. The house will really show you where this energy is being played out most predominantly. So for example, someone with Venus in Capricorn in the 4th house, which is a placement that I personally have, they might be attracted to material items that can gain them status from home. So they could buy a new property where they know they can work consistently from, or they might be attracted to a responsible partner who is security and family orientated, someone they feel that they can grow old with. But then take someone with Venus in Scorpio in the 3rd house. Well, they might be attracted to material items that can transform their love for education and learning, such as a new high-tech computer or a keyboard. Or they may be attracted to a deep and intimate partner who they can have mind-blowing relationships with and talk about taboo subjects with. Okay, so when it comes to the 7th house, known as the descendant within your natal birth chart, so of course looking at the ascendant, which is the sign that was rising, was ascending, but then during the moment of your birth, of course, but then the descendant is the sign that was falling, it was descending. With that in mind, your descendant or your 7th house can be an area of life that can show you the awareness of everyone else outside of yourself. The ascendant is in correspondence with your self-identity, whilst the descendant is associated with the far removed qualities and attributes that you may cease to realize or associate with yourself. And in this way, the 7th house is referred to as the shadow side or the dark side, looking at traits and qualities that are really unconscious within your psyche, but can be awakened when you connect with others. Someone with an Aries ascendant and Libra on the descendant, they just might not associate with qualities that are adapting, indecisive, or relationship orientated. But then someone with an Aquarius ascendant and Leo on the descendant, they might not associate with qualities about themselves that are egotistic, prideful, or attention-seeking. However, the 7th house can also provide an indication into the types of partners that we form with someone else. But it's this union that is based upon mutual agreement and commitment, making this house a house of marriage, companionship, contracts, and agreements. For example, someone with a Taurus descendant, they might form a mutually committed relationship with someone based on loyalty and stability. Whereas someone with Scorpio in the descendant, they might form a mutually committed relationship with someone based on intensity and feeling powerful. The 7th house or the descendant can also provide an indication into how you approach your relationships as well. For example, someone with a Virgo descendant, they might use discrimination when approaching relationships, while someone with Pisces on the descendant, they might use much disillusionment. Likewise, someone with a Sagittarius descendant, they can use much optimism, while someone with a Gemini descendant, they can use much wit and humor. Now, the sign that rules your 7th house, along with planets in the 7th house, of course, well, they can also signify qualities that you are looking for in a partner as well, specifically in terms of mutual commitment and agreement or marriage. For example, someone with a Cancer descendant, they might be looking for a family-oriented partner, while someone with a Capricorn descendant, they might be looking for a persistent, dutiful partner. People with many planets in the 7th house, this is when things can get a little bit crowded, because this can suggest that they may be looking for many qualities in a particular partner. However, not only can the 7th house represent the union between two people within marriage or a mutual relationship, it can also represent business partnerships as well. And it can also represent the relationships that we form with potential clients and customers. After all, it is an area of life associated with contracts and agreements. So for example, someone with their moon in the 7th house, well, they might provide much care and support towards their potential clients and customers. While someone with Uranus in the 7th house, well, they might like to experiment or experience sudden changes within their business partnerships. And the last thing that I would like to mention when it comes to the 7th house or the descendant is that it can also show you your open enemies. So looking at your competitors. Now this of course could be within your social life, but also within your business life as well. Suggesting that this house is a very me against them type of house. For example, someone with Mercury in the 7th house, they might get competitive over their intelligence and their smarts. While someone with Jupiter in the 7th house, they might see teachers and travelers as competition or enemies. Furthermore, someone with Mars in the 7th house, they might experience enemies that are quite pushy and quite bossy, while someone with Neptune in the 7th house, they might experience enemies with a lack of boundaries or who pity themselves. Overall, it is the archetype of Libra that represents balance, harmony, and cooperation. Therefore, it is within your Libra house that you will strive for these very things. It is then the planet Venus that will show you how and where you magnetically attract people and materials to you within your natal birth chart. And lastly, it is your 7th house, along with planets within the 7th house, that can then represent the type of partner that you are either A, attracted to, or B, completely turned off by. Essentially showing you your shadow. Okay then, Cosmic Warriors, so that concludes my big long introduction video into your Libra house, your Venus sign, and your 7th house within your natal birth chart. Again, let us know your Libra placements, 7th house placements, Venus placements in the comment section. And with that all being said then, thank you so much for watching, thank you for subscribing, and if you would like to see more videos from myself and you have not yet subscribed, then what you waiting for? Go ahead and click that subscribe button. And I will be back with another video very soon.